That should say day 9. And so I'm going to correct that too. And I was just thinking, it kind of looks like I'm bell hooks, doesn't it? And why is this so slow? Ugh. I changed the date on it though. No, did not. Oh yeah, I did. It's Wednesday. What am I talking about? Who knows? Do a file save quickly before you forget what you're doing. Yeah, you know what it did? Opened up a new presentation. That's what it just did. I have to turn that heat down a little bit. It's getting a little hot in here. Hot. I probably have a very annoying, although I shut down all of my Etsy's. That's like all I did yesterday. Oh, and hey, and I updated the description. C.S. Lewis was still there, but it wasn't on the playlist. So I was able to do an easy copy and paste. Thank goodness. Although that's what I was doing the entire time. I realized it. So because I realized it in between. So I cleaned it all up in between. Okay. There was something else I was going to, but I am so proud of myself for decoding that. I'm trying to get this exactly right. This is a flame clearly. This to me, this has to be the word. Oh, you know what else it looks like? That looks like Stonehenge. Can you imagine? Oh my God. Can you imagine if they used the winter solstice to send messages across the continents that said, peace be with you? Peace be with you. Oh my gosh, I bet that's exactly what they did. They knew the stars that much. No, I'm pretty sure that they came from monkeys. They've got the monkey traits. There's a hierarchy, I'm just saying. Thank you, Daughters of the Confederacy, for speaking out against peace. Well, when you put it that way, why don't you just get to your book? Black Looks, Race and Representation by Bell Hooks. We are starting chapter 5. A feminist challenge. Must we call every woman sister? No, we call them sister. Hello. Watching the Clarence Thomas hearings was dispowering for masses of individuals. Many of us, female, been there, saw that. That little escapade on ice. Oops. We're turning down the heat, because I predict it's going to get hot in here. Starting with Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Muppet. While viewers admired Anita Hill's courage daring to name publicly that she had been sexually harassed by Thomas, it was never clear what Hill intended by her disclosure. She never really stated an agenda. Did she feel that Thomas's willingness to use power coercively to dominate via sexual harassment meant that he was an unworthy candidate for the Supreme Court? Did she speak out to protest because female subordinates working under Thomas might suffer the same fate? Were he to gain even more power? What does it matter? How do you interpret it? Why do you want to debate about it? What do you think it means? Do you think it means he should be part of the Supreme Court if he did that? I mean, do we or do we not hold those individuals to a higher moral standard? And if you can't find the individuals who do, then find the individual. Because she's still here. And having to decide to participate in public hearings, why didn't it occur to Hill or her advisors that she would need to explain, even justify in a compelling and convincing way, why at her own initiative she continued working relations with Thomas? Oh, give that fucking argument a break. Just use your own fucking head. Maybe you've never been in any financial situation as a black person. I don't know. Put two and two together. Though many women viewers felt we understood Hill's actions for any woman to make such charges within the context of white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy, especially a black woman, if indeed she expects to be taken seriously, there should have been full recognition that she would need to do more than simply state her case. No. As it was, she had difficulty trying to state her case and keep her, as I think she saw it, her integrity. That's what I think. It was, hard enough for her when she has to talk about the comments of a pubic hair, which are all just innuendo. And she knows it. And you want more fodder to debate? I don't think so. Anita Hill stated her case. She did not appear to have a strategy that was based on considering the needs, desires, and expectations of her audience, both that of the Senate committee or the millions of viewers watching her. While I have talked with many women of various races and ethnicities who admired Hill's calmness, her steadfast monotone as she gave rational testimony, such admiration need not obscure the reality of Hill's performance, suggests that she brought to the hearings misguided faith in a system that has rarely worked for women seeking justice in cases of sexual harassment. That's right, exactly. All that was misguided faith. And who's supposed to do something about that? Should she change her faith? Is that what you're saying? Highlighting. That has rarely worked for women seeking justice in sexual harassment. So much so that this is about a woman's issue, as they stated right at the very beginning, not an issue of color, but still had to put the black looks label on it. Look at the label. Look at the label. It's the hook. Needless to say, this faith led her to enter the lion's den without necessary protection. No. They never have necessary protection. Without necessary protection from what? Her middle finger? Because that's about all she's got for protection. If she goes anywhere, if she says more, if she says less, if she minds her own business, if she doesn't, to what degree doesn't she? All of it is just part of the narrative. She has no protection. Now, that being said, I do believe I have protection. I do believe that there are good people out there and that they are protecting me. I do. Otherwise, I have my face in a snowdrift, and we don't have any snowdrifts left. So that would just be a little puff of snow and all that ice that formed underneath. Yikes. Had Anita Hill been an advocate of feminism, mild or militant, she would have brought to the hearings the kind of feminist thinking and awareness that would have enabled her to face the reality that white supremacist patriarchy had already chosen Thomas. And then what? Scream it in the courts? And then what? No, what Anita Hill brought was class. That's what she brought. She didn't bring it down into the dirt at all until they begged her for what she had as a piece of evidence. And what she had was a piece of pubic hair. Not enough, Your Honor. Simply not enough. Yeah, we heard. The media is salivating, wondering who the Jezebel is that they're going to end up devouring. It would have given her the wisdom to understand that to challenge that choice, either by creating powerful opposition or by, powerful opposition that looks like what? You already said it, militant. Or by exposing her true character, she would need to subvert the system. She did expose her true character. Subversion requires strategy. Simply stating the case was not enough. Hill has stated, I am hopeful that others who may have suffered sexual harassment will not become discouraged by my experience, but instead will find the strength to speak. And they would have been discouraged by her experience if she would have gotten the very normal repercussions of a militant black woman. Yet the Thomas hearings made it abundantly clear that coming to voice around sexual harassment is only one stage of a process for any individual female seeking justice. And what they end up doing, she got out of the limelight like right quick, because they ended up what? Well, always picking on some woman's looks in one way or another. What I'm wondering is if she had a weight issue, if that was her issue. And if it was, I mean, that is because she had a very beautiful figure, right? So if she had a weight issue, then I could see her getting also out of the limelight as well. Like, this is the best I'm going to look. And that being said, you know, the critical nature of what she was doing. As in, the nature of people to criticize. Even when she's there in the most subtle ways. While it is crucial that women come to voice in a patriarchal society that socializes us to repress and contain. It is also crucial what we say, how we say it, and what our politics are. To see the Thomas hearings as solely an issue of a female coming to voice in a case of sexual harassment, as many folks chose to do, is to reduce the complexity of both the issue of Thomas's appointment to the Supreme Court and of Hill's relationship to the political system that chose to support and affirm that appointment. You already said it. You already said it. Amen, sister. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do have to always use sister. Watching these hearings, we were not just seeking a black man and a black woman at odds with one another about sexual harassment. We were watching two conservative black folks who have shown by their political allegiances that they identify with mainstream white conservative culture and politics. Both parties suggested by their willingness to participate in the public spectacle of these hearings that they believed it was indeed possible for them to gain recognition, voice, a fair and just hearing within a white supremacist patriarchal state that has historically stubbornly refused to hear the voices of oppressed and marginalized black people seeking justice. Hey, welcome to the all-Catholic Supreme Court. What do you think they're listening to? I'm sorry, what was that? The record of Sinterklaas? And the Red Baron? How long is this sentence? Ironically, Clarence Thomas, whose advisors were evidently far more astute than the folks working with Anita Hill, did not act as though he could simply state his case. He clearly strategized. A major moment of victory occurred when Thomas dropped the mask of rational cool and expressed anger and rage at the process. I saw every minute of that hearing. I saw every minute of the hearing. It started when I got home from school. 3 o'clock is when they started their day, after their hangovers, after their blitzkrieg. His declaration that he was a victim of a high-tech lynching was a shrewd move, it was, because he was so, out of sorts. And then they're like, hey, MFer, we appointed you, act like a freaking judge, would you please? You've got judge authority, Supreme Court judge authority, just not any judge authority that's over here in whatever, Michigandering over here, letting people go. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to free me. That could be. I mean, it's clearly I'm in slavery, but not harmful. But where are my things? That's communism right there. So, speaking of the Red Baron, when did this happen? World War I, World War II? I don't know. Was a shrewd move which not only deflected away from the victimization of Anita Hill, it shifted the nature of the public discourse. Prior to these comments, race had not been seen as a primary factor shaping the contents of the interrogations. And that's, what a prideful black person would not resort to, and what a white supremacist society would say, what do you think you got elected for? By raising the historical specter of lynching, Thomas evoked images that are both racial and sexual in nature. Practically all the visual images that remain of lynching of blacks black males by white mobs show blacks to be sexually mutilated, usually castrated. Lynching, then, must be seen as both a racial and sexual crime. In effect, Thomas covertly suggested that he was being subjected to a form of sexual harassment more gruesome and brutal than any verbal harassment could ever be. To use the vernacular, he was saying, y'all trying to punish me for using nasty talk to harass when you trying to cut off my dick. And it is not surprising that the specter of castration, which haunts white America's racial imagination, should, in the context of patriarchy appear to be the more heinous crime. The white patriarchal members of the Senate committee could empathize with the idea of an endangered phallus. They could not and did not empathize with the suffering of Anita Hill. And by extension then, which is where you started, her vagina. You boil her down to a vagina, and then you say, we cannot sympathize with that. Really? Right? The way you turn it on and off, and we can't? Is that what this boils down to? I mean, that's exactly what they're saying. And by the way, philosophically, metaphorically, it's a black man who has climbed to the top of the ladder and you're cutting off his dick. You should be thanking the stars. And you're cutting off his dick. Making him look like he's not a man. Like he's not worthy. Like he's like other black men. You know, so you could smell the setup all the way around. That's like a snake in the grass, isn't it? Who's the snake? It is not surprising that the specter of castration, which haunts white America's racial imagination, should, in the context of patriarchy, appear to be the more heinous crime. All right, I said that. Yeah, exactly. The white patriarchal members, I already said that. And Thomas's diary, go down to the last one. Pain at being the object of what he strategically implied was the continuation of white male rape and castration of black males was seen as far more brutal than any pain Hill could possibly have suffered. Displacing the narrative of male domination and sexual harassment of females, Thomas placed himself outside the borders of the white phallocentric culture he had previously been so intimately allied with. Having refused to acknowledge the importance of racial difference and white victimization of black folks in the past, he chose to identify himself with the black men and women who were victims of one of the cruelest expressions of white supremacy. His evocation, to evoke, he's evoking, of lynching echoed the work of Eldridge Cleaver, a self-confessed sexual harasser and rapist who, in Soul on Ice, attempted to justify this perverse, aggressive sexist behavior as a necessary response to racialized sexual victimization at the hands of white men. Millions of white and black readers responded with compassion to Cleaver's insistence that it was white racism that had forced him to become a rapist, suggesting that white men were obsessed by their desire to control black men's bodies. Cleaver wrote in the persona of a white male speaker, "The brain must control the body. To prove my omnipotence, I must cuckold you and fetter your bull balls. I will fetter the range of your rod and limit its reach. My prick will excel your rod. I have made a calculation. I will have sexual freedom, but I will bind your rod with my omnipotent will and place a limitation on its aspiration, which you will violate on pain of death. By subjecting your manhood to the control of my will, I shall control you. The stem of the body, the penis, must submit to the will of the brain. Clarence Thomas evoked this image of white males controlling black manhood and was most effective. In the popular imagination of white and black folks alike, he represented the black male standing up for his right to participate fully in patriarchy and the culture of the phallus. He became a heroic symbol of sexist black male resistance to being controlled by the white man. No, by the woman. That was a sexist move, not a racist one. As one white male cab driver said to me, so what if he's a harasser and a pornographer? Aren't they all? Why should he be punished? After all, Thomas, even in the act of attempting to sexually coerce a black female, was only acting as white men have acted with impunity in white racist society. And this is an interesting question right here. Is that where it really always is? And that rapist mentality came from, see the Bookless classroom, it seems to have come from the superiority complex of the ancestors. You all know who they are. So, after all, even in the act of attempting to sexually coerce a black female, was only acting as a white men have acted with impunity in a white racist society. You were at their beck and call. They were yanking your chain and you responded. They know how men are going to respond. Certain men, not all men, but maybe men who have certain inclinations, as that was the position of the rapist. You definitely can make a rapist, and it definitely was the goal of psychological training and behaviorists, psychotherapy and behaviorist control. It was all about control. That's exactly what it was about. So I could get a man to be a rapist. How would you do that? Well, I mean, we don't need to go into, 101 about it. And in choosing to marry a white female whose image was always behind his during the hearing, he was also expressing his allegiance to white supremacist patriarchy. But that's where the learning curve comes in, doesn't it? Turn on a little pornography at an age that we called a critical period, right? Which would be puberty. It's easy to identify critical sexual periods. And then you excite those in a manner that comes from no experience to out of control, right? Not in a slow way of discovery between two trusting individuals. And you then attach and make those associations